And a coach has a lot of power over a student's future aspirations, especially if that coach can manipulate that
Exactly.
poor child's thinking that I can do things for you and I can get things done. This was nothing more than a grooming situation
Yep.
by someone that I believe absolutely wanted a sexual relationship with this student. Greetings, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the People's Global News Network. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the People's Global News Network. This is the network where we bring you the raw, unadulterated truth stories that most are afraid to reveal or tell you about. Here at the People's Global News Network, we make sure that the facts are presented, the truth is presented, and we don't run from corruption, we expose it. Today, we're going to share with you a story of how school districts really believe they can do anything they want to do, violating families and students' rights without any accountability. Why? Because many of you in Texas do not know, and around the country, the House legislative here in Texas, the state reps and state senate passed a law 10 years ago that gave teachers and school districts immunity from prosecution and a large amount of civil litigation. And because of that, these superintendents and principals and teachers feel that they can do whatever they want to do and get away with it. Texas leads the nation in inappropriate relationships between students and teachers. But that's why you don't see parents winning big lawsuits against those teachers or the district because the state gave them immunity. In this particular case, we want to share with you how you have a school district that frankly believes they're above the law. Good morning, ma'am. Thank you for joining us here today, and thank your daughter for being with us. We greatly appreciate your courage and your presence to be willing to come before the world and tell the entire country your story and what's going on. Mom, we're going to start with you. Tell us what's going on here and how this all got started.
Well, listening to my daughter, um, a lot of things started going on like last year, and by me listening to her, some things started happening during school as far as with Coach Carter. Um, she started picking on her, started taking her from different things that she would normally do, like design shirts and um, different things that she would do for the softball team. Um, so she started picking on that. She started taking it from her. Then Paige was concerned about it. She was upset, and so then that's what made me go in to have a conference with her.
And when you say with her, who are you speaking about?
Coach Carter.
Coach Carter. And she coaches what at what high school, etc. Tell all that to the listening, to the viewing audience.
She coached softball at Lamar Consolidated in Rosenberg. Um, so when we went into that conference, she really didn't want to explain why she started taking her from these different functions, things that she would normally do. And Paige was kind of upset about it because this is something that that got passed on from when the first coach, Coach Cardenas, before he left, she was already doing these different little things, and so now Coach Carter want to give them to her other coaches, her other two coaches that was her um,
Her subordinate coaches that are
right,
under her leadership at the school.
right.
Hmm.
So when we went into that conference, Coach Carter couldn't explain why she would take them from her, other than she wanted to give them to her other two coaches. So we talked about it, and one of the principals came in. I'm not sure her name, but she came in, and it never did get settled. So the principal said that she was going to have her reach out and explain and let us know, give us a follow up. Never heard anything about it. So then, fast forward to the last game of the softball season. Um, Paige was really upset. She came off the field crying, and I'm asking her, Paige, what's going on, and she said, well, she keep yelling at me, and I'm like, well, why is she yelling? And she just walked off of me and went on to the bus. So then I So instead of me going on to my car, I doubled back and I went back. And as I'm going back, one of the other little girls stopped me and said, "She's yelling, but she's really yelling at Paige." And I'm like, "Well, why is she yelling at Paige?" She said, "I don't know. She's just yelling at Paige." And so then when I went, so I said, "Okay, well, thank you." So then I went on towards the dugout, and I went into the dugout and I asked her. I said, "Coach Carter, why are you yelling at Paige?" And I stopped, and as I stopped, she walked right into me, telling me that she don't want to have this conversation, and she walked, directly into me, and
And she made physical contact with you?
exactly, it's exactly what she
How
did.
close were you to the coach when you raised the question, why is she hollering at Paige?
I wasn't even close at all. It's like
Mm-hmm.
me and your distance. For instance, I stopped and she walked right into me as she's saying, "Well, I don't want to talk about this today." And at that time, I'm not sure if this guy was from this field or not, or the coach.
Mm-hmm.
Is at the time that he wound up somehow how the field is kind of higher than the
Mm-hmm.
dugout. He was linked in to me, telling me, screaming in my face, telling me, leave the field right now. He was really loud in my face, and I looked at him. I said, "Are you screaming in my face?" And he said, "Yes, leave the field." So at that time is when I one of the another it was a parent came and took me out of the dugout. She told me, just come on, Shay, let's leave the dugout. So at that time is when I completely left the field.
How many witnesses witnessed this incident, do you believe?
I would say two, but it was another one, and it was another one, but I don't know
Outside
if
of
she's
school officials?
well. It was I don't remember any officials.
When I say officials, I mean the coaching staff.
Right.
How many parents, which would be independent witnesses, you think witnessed this?
It was one parent
Mm-hmm.
that I knew for sure. As I was walking in, she was standing there, and it was two students inside the dugout.
So take us to what happened after this. Now, this quote unquote altercation is how it's going to be described to try to justify behavior towards your daughter, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what happens. Many parents don't recognize this, that they will be abusive toward the student, towards your child. Then when you respond to it and question it, then they want to put the focus on you and your concern about your child and ignore how the child was treated by the staff and by the teacher, the coaches, etc. What happened after this?
Well, I tried to reach out to the Coach Siegel. How I can't pronounce her name right. She never responded back to me. So really, I think my daughter was kind of like mistreated in this incident. No one tried to reach out to me to ask me
Mm-hmm.
anything. No, to get my side of the story at all. But my daughter's a softball. She's been playing softball since she's been 4 years old, 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Carter kind of like demoted her to it's like the award she gave my daughter was like it was kind of wrong. She was shit. I'm not saying my daughter was the best daughter on the team, but she kind of
Why do you think she targeted your child in particular?
because of the things that was going on after I fairly really found out what was going on.
And explain to me what those things are. The people want to know. Tell us.
It's kind of embarrassing to me
Oh,
to an
please.
extent.
The world needs to hear this. This is about exposing facts and exposing the truth.
She was paying for my daughter's lashes. She was wanting to be kind of like in the same stall with my daughter using the restroom. The way my daughter kind of explained it to me, um, she was talking about sex with her. Well, not with her, but amongst her and another teacher. While my daughter is sitting in that setting, before that had happened, she went and got my daughter out of her normal class to go sit in and do some kind of paperwork at the desk. But yet she's talking to another teacher about sex, about how her and her husband had sex the night before, and other little incidents. She was wanting to get my daughter to go to um, a game. She was going to pay for a motel for my daughter to go to go sit in at a game. different little things that I didn't know that was going on.
And what else? We're not hiding nothing here. What else?
I think that's all I really can remember in this page.
Did you make a police report?
Well, yes, we did go in and speak with Chief Garcia and the HR of the district. So they got the full statement from Paige, and everything that was talked about in that setting, which what I just said, the HR was shaking her head, said that this was not what's supposed to be going on. Basically, they're not supposed, not any coach or teacher is supposed to be having this kind of relationship with a student. She even sent my daughter a picture of another child.
And what type of picture?
The picture was showing her back, part of her lower back, showing the G-string of a child with her piercings on her lower back.
And what was the comments associated with the picture?
I can't really remember the comments of the picture.
Okay. Paige, welcome to the show. We thank you for your courage and your strength, young woman. Tell us what happened here and what's going on here.
Okay, I'm going to talk about from 2024. 2024, May 15th, the exact date, is when Coach Carter had sent me $100 for a Dick's gift card. And the beginning of this school year, I had got my lashes done, but I had paid for them. And then they were falling off or whatever, and she asked me that they were falling off, and she was like, I can get them done for you. And I was like, okay, me just not thinking of anything. She was just like, I can get them done for you. So okay, so she had got my lashes paid for by another parent that was, her daughter was on the softball team with me. And I had went and got them done, and then she had continuously got my lashes paid for, and they're $100 for a full set and $65 for a refill.
And how long did she pay for you to get your lashes done?
From beginning of the school year till I'm trying to see when was the last incident that happened. During district.
So 3 months, 4 months, 2 months?
It was a couple months, a couple months.
Couple of months. And so she consistently paid for you to get your lashes done.
Mm-hmm.
And this is your softball coach?
Yes, my head coach.
Your head softball coach. Was she paying for other young girls to get their lashes done?
No, sir.
Just you?
Yes, sir.
What other things did she do that raised warning signs in your mind or red flags in your mind about her?
One time when I got my lashes done, she was there because she would get her lashes done an appointment ahead of me, and I'll go right after her. Mm-hmm. So she had got her lashes done appointment ahead of me, and I was laying on the bed, and we have our eyes closed, whatever. Mm-hmm. So she had came from the restroom, and she came in, and she had spoken, was like, "Hey, Paige," and rubbed on my leg. Mm-hmm. And then that was one incident. Mm-hmm. And then she would, at school, she would bring me out of class, because I had office aid for 2 periods in a row. Mm-hmm. So she would take me out of those office aid classes and take me to a room with her and another coach. And then sometimes one coach wouldn't have a class because she was an aide for a couple coaches. Mm-hmm. So sometimes we'd go in a different class and just sit in there and talk about softball, do softball work. And then she'll take me in another class and I would do softball work because I was the team captain. Mm-hmm. So one time I was sitting there and she was talking about a physical altercation with her and her husband that morning of. And she was talking about it with another coach, but I was sitting there and I said, "Carter, I don't want to hear about that." And she was like, well, don't listen. And I'm like, well, I'm right here. And you're just talking about it. So that incident had occurred, and then when Randall football team was going to state for football, she had, we were talking about it or whatever, and she was like, I can pay for like a hotel for me and you to stay in a hotel to go watch the games. Like, I think the game was in Dallas, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And
It was in Dallas at AT&T Stadium.
and she had said that she would pay for a hotel to go there. Then she ended up saying that her brother wasn't gonna go, so she wasn't gonna attend it.
Mm-hmm.
It was something with her brother.
Mm-hmm.
And then during Vipe, I think it was Vipe, or it was softball pictures. I had asked to go use the restroom, like, cause we don't use the restroom at school.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to do
I
that
understand.
too.
Yes, ma'am.
We don't use the restroom at school, so we go to the softball fields,
Mm-hmm.
and we use like the bigger restroom, like nobody's in there,
Mm-hmm.
and she like unlocks it for us. So I had texted her and I was like, hey, Coach Carter, can you unlock the big restroom before I go over there so I can use the restroom? And she was like, I have to use the restroom too, so we can use it together. And I was like, that's absolutely disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had left that alone, and then we ended up having an altercation through messages about softball banners.
Mm-hmm.
How she let another player, pick a softball banner and didn't get the rest of the seniors' vision of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the monogram, she only showed one person the monogram of the banner. So like me and a couple other girls had like felt a certain way about it, and she started yelling at us in a group chat, like all caps. She started yelling at us and was cussing.
Cussing in the text?
Yes, sir.
The head coach was cussing in the text?
Cursing in the text.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
And it was in a group chat with me and another player. And I had felt a certain way about it because I'm like, I understand you're my coach at the end of the day, but at the end of the day, I have a parent that can cuss at me, talk to me any type of way because that's my parent. She's not my parent. So I felt a certain way about it. So I texted my mom. I told my mom about it. And my mom had texted her for a meeting, a conference. So that's when they had a conference, and it was Carter in the conference and her assistant coach that doesn't know anything about what's going on. This is her first year. So I've been having Instagram. I ran the Instagram. I designed softball jerseys. I designed fan shirts since 2024 until this year. She took that away from me, and I had texted her personally, and I was like, Carter, why am I getting punished for something that I should be punished for? Because I wasn't understanding why I was getting punished or getting stuff taken away from me. Carter.
Coach Carter. Mm-hmm.
She changed the password for the Instagram without me knowing. And I asked her, do I need to make a new one? Did somebody hack it? And she was like, no, we could talk about it a different day. And then I had even paid for walk-up songs, an app. I paid for that. She didn't pay for it. I paid for that.
Why do you think Coach Carter, because it sounds like at one time you were one of her favorites, one of her top choices to build a personal relationship with for some other reason may be. Why do you think Coach Carter decided to do a 180 on you and change toward you?
Because we're having altercations. Like I said, when I had told my mom about when Carter was cursing in the messages and yelling or whatever, I told my mom about they had a conference. The conference didn't go how Carter wanted it to go. So we're in there back to the conference, we're in there with another assistant coach. And my mom, the assistant coach, had words. And Carter was just sitting back, not really talking to my mom about anything, not telling her what was going on. And so my mom asked for a principal to come in because there's no principal in there. It was just assistant coach and Coach Carter and my mom and me in a conference room. So my mom asked for a principal to come in. She came in and she was just kind of taking up for Carter, going around the whole, just repeating herself. So my mom and her kind of had a little bit of words. And then that's when we had left from there. I had practice 7th period. We had a conference, I think my 3rd period, which had office aid. So I had softball practice 7th period, and I was late to softball practice because I was on the phone with Coach Senegal, which is Coach Carter's boss, which is the athletic director. I was on the phone with her, me and another player. We drive our cars to the softball field because it's across the street. So I was in my car talking to Coach Senegal about everything that was going on. I was telling her about the banners, how she was cursing, everything.
Did you tell Coach Senegal that she volunteered to get you and her a motel room to go see a state football game?
No, sir.
Did you tell Coach Senegal at the time that she had been paying for your lashes for months and going with you to get these lashes done?
No, sir.
Was your mom aware of this, that she was paying for your lashes?
No, sir.
So your parents were unaware that she was doing these personal things for you.
Yes, sir.
Was there anything else that she did that you felt was inappropriate with you? Is there something that you have not said that was inappropriate with Coach Carter? That's the truth. Because right now, what you're saying is serious. And I believe you. But you also have the responsibility to help protect others because you know the truth. You understand?
Yes, sir.
And I just want to be crystal clear. Is there anything else she did or said that was inappropriate?
No, anything else that I haven't told you? No.
I believe you were being groomed. I believe you were being groomed for an inappropriate relationship. And I think that once you gave signs that you were not interested in that, then she began to retaliate against you. When she makes statement, we can use the bathroom together. When she secretly, without your parents' knowledge, going places with you, getting your lashes done, then rubbing on your leg while you're getting your lashes done, and then having a sexual conversation with another teacher in your presence, she was grooming you. And this hurts me and angers me as a father of young women. I have zero tolerance for this. And I'm not shocked nor am I surprised. For Texas leads the nation in inappropriate relationships between teachers and students. These inappropriate relationships are voluminous in this state. And it's because many of these teachers are getting away with it, not being held accountable. What was your last incident with her about this yelling and screaming at you situation?
Our last playoff game of the season, we were in second round, and I was at second base, and the ball had hit the pitcher in her knee. So I had grabbed it and threw it to first base. I guess first base missed the ball because I'm at second base. So I guess she had missed the ball, and I had turned around because I noticed that there was a timeout for the pitcher, of course, because it hit her. So the catcher had came in or whatever, and I guess she had told everybody to come in. But I had turned my back and I was walking around because I knew there was a timeout. So I had when I had turned back around, Carter had came out the dugout and was yelling at me saying, "Paige, why are you not here?" Something like that. I don't know what she was specifically saying. I just know she was yelling. So I was walking up and I said, "Carter, you don't have to yell at me. I'm doing all I can do right now for the softball team. I made the most plays in the infield that day. So it's like that. I can't do anything else. I'm trying my best here. And we're down 10 runs, so there was no coming up. And she was just yelling, and then they were saying in the circle that she was calling us pathetic. We look pathetic and all different types of names. I don't know what was said in the circle at the time because I wasn't there. But on the bus, they were telling me what she was saying, and there was really no point in me going if she was just going to have discouraging words instead of encouraging us. So that was the incident that happened.
Mother, did the school officials, after bringing you in for this meeting, did they learn of everything that's been revealed here today?
Well, I'm not sure if they did at that time. Well, by us going into speaking with the school, with the Chief Garcia and the HR, I'm pretty sure that she kind of knew what was going on when we went into the meeting to have that hearing, the first hearing of the grievance. But she said she didn't know. So I'm thinking she did because I think it was kind of biased anyway from going into that meeting with Principal King, the King.
And so this has been pretty much a cover-up.
Right.
This has pretty much been swept under the rug to protect the image of the district and the school.
And I was even, they put a trespassing on me so I couldn't go to my daughter's graduation.
You couldn't even attend your daughter's graduation. And what was the reason for that?
From the incident that happened at the last game.
What was it like for you, young lady, going to a graduation that your mother could not attend?
It was heartbreaking. I was crying a lot.
What would you like to see done with this case and with this situation with Coach Carter?
Her not interacting with any other students at Lamar or any other school.
Thank you. I appreciate you. We're next going to bring in a community pastor, pastor from the community, who's very familiar with the facts of this case, who attempted to get involved and attempted to assist his family. And he'll tell you about how he was handled, how he was treated, and what he would like to see be done. Stay tuned.
Good afternoon.
Pastor, good morning, brother. How are you, sir?
I'm well. How are you?
It is a blessing to sit here with the man of God and let you explain to the people your relationship to this case, what you know about this case, and what you would like to see come out of this.
Well, I'm Pastor C.O. Reed of Revived Incorporated, Revived Ministries. It's a nonprofit, but it's also a church. We formed a church out of it. Familiar with the case. This is my niece. So, of course, she's going to come to her uncle. She know I do a lot of things in the community in Rosenberg, and one of them is I deal with a lot of youth and parents, and I try to make sure that everything is fine and situated when trouble comes. That's what I do from time to time, and we also help the homeless. However, the way I got involved was when I was ear hustling, and I heard my wife and talking to her sister, and so that's when I got, okay, tell them to meet me at my office tomorrow so I can get details, so I can see what's going on, what I can do to help the situation, because I heard that a situation occurred at the softball game. So at this point, it was the weekend. However, she was called on the phone, notified that she needed to meet with officers. Well, I'm not ignorant of the law. I kind of knew what was about to happen. They were trying to trespass her for whatever the incident. And I was right. I told her, don't meet them, I'll go meet them. And I told them, and so I talked to the officers, and that's exactly what it was. But they had two officers to call. One of them told her that I just want to meet you and talk about, get your side of the story of what happened out in Navasota, and that's all we're doing. Another officer called and was very rude, Rios. He was very rude and told her, you're trespassing and we're going to take you to jail if you show up. So I tried to call him back. Well, I told her, I said, you call him back in front of me, see if he answers. He wouldn't answer her. She called several times, but he didn't have my number. That's where he messed up. When I called, he answered the phone. He verified who he were. And I asked him, did you get authorization from your chief to make that call? And he told me he didn't. That was a call he decided to make on his own. He had no authorization. I said, well, I've never known anyone to get a trespassing over the telephone. That's something I've known you to do in person. By law, you have to do that in person. They have to be that accepted. Now, correct me if I'm wrong on the law, but no one could correct me and tell me I was wrong, that you got to be in person to get a trespassing warning. Nevertheless, I went and met him, called the chief. The chief wasn't in. He called me back. He wasn't in agreement with me at first. During the midst of all of what's going on, what I found out is everything that was going on with my niece and how this teacher, as you said, had been grooming her to be in a personal relationship.
Right.
They can call it what they want. They can say it is what it is. But she was grooming her as any child predator would. Mm-hmm. The buying her stuff, the touching her on her leg, the mentioning of sex, and how I think in that conversation what my niece left out is that she was eating watermelon and saying that that's how it tastes when you eat the fruit. They say that's what it tastes. There was a lot of stuff said in that conversation. So
she made sexual connotations
yes, sir.
about eating fruit?
Yes, sir.
Is this true, young lady?
Yes, sir. It was about pineapples.
And
Pineapple.
what? Oh, I've heard that story, unfortunately, from others.
Yeah.
What did she say and who she said this to?
It was when she was talking to Coach Finsky in the classroom and she took me out of my office aid and she was talking about her and her husband's sexual activities and talking about how, or this is why she's eating pineapples now or something like that.
Oh, wow. Okay, go ahead, Pastor.
So it doesn't take much for me to know that this child is being groomed. You sent a picture of another student, an underage child, laying on a table, shirt up, showing her back, pants somewhat down, not down below her buttocks, but down enough to where you can almost see the crack of her bottom, and her G-string is showing with piercings on her back. That's child pornography. I don't care how you try to look at it. I don't care how they try to cover it up, whether it's all the way down or showing just some. No adult.
Well, at the very least, it's an inappropriate picture.
Exactly.
Because it has nothing to do with softball.
Softball.
Two, it's an inappropriate picture because it now shows that she's continued to facilitate this grooming to foster this inappropriate relationship. And Pastor, what happened when you went to the superintendent?
He never responded. And that's crazy because I went to him personally. Not only did I go personally and leave my number, I also have his cell phone number and called several times and left messages. Never got anywhere. So at this point, as I'm talking to the chief is being real, how can I put it? He's not in agreement because I'm calling also about this CTW that has been placed on my niece's mother, and this is her parent. Graduation is Saturday, so how y'all gonna put a CTW? And this child, this her last year. We ain't got but a week, and y'all saying appeal it, and everybody is in cahoots with each other, and everybody is friends with each other. Just about everybody from the head principal to the coach are related in some kind of capacity, and also their husbands are in law enforcement. So we wasn't going to have a win there. However, I did get a meeting once I told him about the pictures and the inappropriate action. At that point, his whole tune changed, and he called for an immediate meeting with not just me, but the superintendent, the HR as well. And while in this meeting, they handed over, that we're sitting there and we're talking, and that's when she got even in more detail because some of this stuff I didn't know until we got into that meeting with her. And she broke down crying when asked, why didn't you tell your mother? She said, I didn't want to lose my chance at softball.
First of all, that's a silly question because she is an authoritarian figure over the future aspirations of a young student who wishes to play softball by God's grace at the next level of Division I softball. And a coach has a lot of power over a student's future aspirations, especially if that coach can manipulate that poor child's thinking that I can do things for you and I can get things done. This was nothing more than a grooming situation by someone that I believe absolutely wanted a sexual relationship with this student. And so for the district to ask stupid questions, most children who are molested and taken advantage of, they don't tell their parents.
They don't.
They tell other teachers. They tell other friends, other students. They often tell people outside the home because often child predators will threaten the members of that child's family in the mind of that child to make her think that that's a bad move that you would make by telling your parents.
You are correct.
You know, I would say to the district, shame on you. Shame on you. Oh, but Coach Carter, let me say this to the district. They don't just start with one and finish with one. One thing about those who like to groom children, it becomes a pattern. And so I'm interested, are there other students who have more information about Coach Carter? Are there other young girls who've had similar experience or even worse experiences possibly with Coach Carter? We want to hear from you. Reach out to us because I do not believe she started with your niece and stopped.
I don't know.
But the district, you will be held accountable for not doing your due diligence and what you were supposed to do in this investigation. This child is not lying. But of course, the image of the district is most important to you. But what's most important and sacred to the parents? The safety and security of your children. What else would you like to say to the district, sir?
You know, I grew up in that district. I grew up under superintendents who had morals and ethics. I grew up under principals who cared. White, black, it didn't matter. They cared for the students back then. Even when one would have thought Lamar or LCISD was the most prejudiced, I've never seen it so discombobulated as it is now.
Right now.
The district police, Lieutenant Hart, with no guilt or shame, no sorrowful feelings, straight up said, we didn't find nothing, so we dismissed the case. We dropped it. But she never called this student. The superintendent has never called this student.
So the specific assigned officer to investigate never interviewed your niece.
The only time she was interviewed is when she told her story.
Went to the Human Resources Department.
But
as a detective, you got to go directly to the source and at least attempt to interview this child in a comfortable environment. And in fact, let her see a psychologist first and a therapist, then conduct that interview with the therapist's help and discretion. That's how it goes. But I'm shocked, but I'm not surprised that the district handled this case this way. Thank you, young lady. This is not the end of this story, by no stretch of the imagination. And I thank you for your courage. It takes a strong young woman to come before the public and the world to tell the truth about a situation like this. But I'm glad you stood your ground. I'm glad you rejected those advances. And I'm glad you stood up for what you knew to be right and what you knew to be wrong. You rejected that, even coming from an adult who was an authoritarian figure over you. You are to be admired and applauded, young lady. Thank you for being who you are. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the People's Global News Network, where we bring you the stories that most are afraid to reveal to you. Here at the People's Global News Network, we didn't come to lighten up, we come to tighten up. Thank you for tuning in, and absolutely share with friends, family, and with the public what you see and hear at People's Global News Network. Thank you.